Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast, sponsored by NordVPN. If you want to get the best discount code available, it's delicious, I've heard. The link's in the description down below. I'm your host for this one, Dan Rolinson, joined by John Townley. John, you've had a week off? Quiet week?
No. Yeah, literally a week off. No. Yeah, nice to kind of not do too much work, but
still do some work.
Quite a bit came up last week. Yeah, ticket prices and what else happened? Lots happened.
Disability parking.
Yeah. Lots went on, and not a great week for Villa really off the pitch. Well, a dreadful week off the pitch for Villa.
Yeah.
So hopefully this week can be better, at least on the pitch. Everton at the weekend. Nice to get back into it. We've got quite a lot of games actually before the next international break, which I was happy with. You know, it's nice to kind of have that distraction of hopefully winning a match and then focusing on other things. Champions League as well next week as well, which is mental. 8 days away as we record. So
yeah, very exciting. We're going to talk obviously a lot about on the pitch matters today. Everyone will be pleased to know, but there will be a couple of questions. This is our Q&A, by the way, if you haven't already realised. There's a couple of questions about ticket prices and other various off the pitch stuff, but we've just done the Villa Social, which came out on Saturday evening, where about 30 minutes of that was all about ticket prices. We had Dan Bardell, Max Stokes, Ty Bracey and James Rushton in here on Friday. I changed the chairs, by the way, and I'm not quite used to it yet. I feel like my posture's all over the place.
I like to always have my arms rested, and
there's no
armrest down here. It's weird.
There's no back room, like my back. I feel like if I sit like this, I've already been called fat in the comments this week, so you know, I don't want to highlight that. I don't want to highlight it any further. Let me just explain the Villa Social very quickly, because there was a few comments saying things like, come on lads, like we've had a good start to the season, we've had a busy transfer window, but we've got Emery, like there's loads to be excited about. Yeah. Why are you talking about such a negative, divisive topic? Firstly, if we recorded that the week before, it'd have been a totally different show. We'd planned something very, very different. Yeah. That news came out and we've got a duty, for want of a better word, to discuss it as journalists. People want us to be proper journalists and do some actual journalism. So to talk about an actual issue that is affecting thousands of people is something we should and will continue to do. It just coincided with the first episode of this brand new exciting show that it was a negative thing. Between the 16th of August and the Villa Social coming out, we uploaded 15 podcasts in those 21 days. Those 15 podcasts were all about the start of the season, previews, West Ham, post-match, Q&As. Like, we've talked about the football and all the transfer stuff.
You came with receipts.
To do all... I know, but I've got to kind of defend myself, I feel like. I tweeted out saying, we're doing the Q&A on Monday. I think we've done enough about the tickets now. Can we move on? And loads of replies were still about that subject. So the Q&A is the audience leads where it goes. So the audience want it. The audience want to ask us these questions, so we're going to have to talk about some of it.
Or just skip ahead in the video, I suppose, if you don't want to listen.
There's time in the Q&A. There's time code. So the section that says ticket prices, if you're not interested in that anymore, fast forward to the next chapter where it is, I don't know, what do you think of Duran? Or whatever the question is. Do you want to start with the ticket stuff?
Yeah, may as well, yeah.
Okay, Matt on Thread says, I don't disagree with your comments on the Champions League ticket prices, but why are people saying it makes no difference to the bottom line? We've probably budgeted for 5 Champions League home games. If tickets were £30 cheaper, that's £150 cheaper per seat, or about 5.7 million less in total. That's Onana's wages. That's the bulk of the Maatsen fee amortised. I'm not defending the prices, but there is a trade-off. We know we've maxed out our budget too. Obviously, we've spoken about it. I've done this to death, as I've just said. Just give me your take on tickets and that question.
Yeah, I'll keep it like short and sweet, or not sweet, but the ticket prices are obviously disgusting. I think it's a dreadful situation. Fans are being priced out of going to Villa, especially the ones who... especially the ones that have been loyal. Loyalty is being exploited here, because I know people who are not going to be going to the Bayern game, who are season ticket holders. Maybe it's because they can't afford it. Maybe it's because they don't want to be a part of it, basically, because they feel that they are being exploited. So they don't want to go, because then can you be the person who... I mean, and you definitely can. Everyone's got a voice. But they don't want to go and then complain about it because they've gone. You know, they don't want to be a part of it, and that's such a horrible situation. It really didn't have to be like this, and I understand that question. However, if they're budgeting to put this cost on fans, they just shouldn't have done that in the first place. Yeah. It's my overriding point. If they're doing the big budget or whatever at the start of the season, then cost the tickets at, let's say, 55, 60 quid, which is kind of the average of the Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal prices in that bracket. Again, we're in Birmingham, we're not in London. Price it there and then see what your cost will be and work from there. I just think you should never do all, and I'm not saying that Villa have done this, but kind of just answering the question. If it is a case that Villa have done all the spending and then thought, okay, we now need to make up this amount of cost, what can we do? Well, we can put it on fans. That's a no-go. That's disgraceful. And I'm not saying Villa have done that, and I don't know if, literally have no idea, I'm not saying they have, but we're just answering that question. If that is the case, and that isn't something that the fans should pick up. It should never ever be the case.
My thing with this was, I said in the social, I might be naive, but I want Villa to be better. If everyone else is charging 40 quid for a League Cup ticket, why don't we charge 20? Why don't we be different? Somebody in the comments was like, "Oh, you're naive," but I said I am naive. But and again, maybe Villa have gone down every avenue possible to bring in as much revenue as possible. We know that they're working their backsides off to try and do that. But I still think surely there are other things you can do before ticket prices becomes an option.
That's my point.
Can we not sell the naming rights to Bodymore Heath? Can we get the new Aston Villa official podcast sponsored by a company that pays us £1 million a season? Like, are there other things? That's a very poor example, but do you know what I mean? Like, are there other things Villa can do before pulling the lever of ticket prices? They can go up.
And whatever the cost is, a few £1 million. I don't, and this might sound, because people have always kind of come back in different things on social media, and I've kind of stayed out of it a little bit, but people have said, well, we're doing so well though now, and isn't that what we all wanted? Yes, that is what I wanted, but for a few £1 million, did I want fans to be priced out of it and to be paying £300 in some circumstances to watch 4 matches?
What do you make of the argument about people saying like it's a premium product, the Champions League, so it's a premium price?
But we're pricing more than Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City. We're paying more anyway.
I saw somebody say something like, come on, you're playing Bayern Munich, Juventus, like these are world-class ties, and my reply to that was, is it still a world-class tie if we lose 6-0?
I get the point.
The premium product might be that Villa lose the match.
It's taken the shine off it for me. And
I agree.
In the first minute of the game, and people will forget about it in the first. The atmosphere will be fantastic. It'll be a day to remember, I hope. But right now, again, I know people who just are kind of flippant with it now. It's like, oh well, it's ruined it for me because I can't spend that £79. I literally can't in the month because I have other things to pay for in my life. And Villa for them is their life, but they have, it's a cost of living crisis. Everyone's bills are about to go up because of heating. Like, it's so out of touch to be charging that kind of money. It makes me furious about it, and I know I'm not the only one. Villa's revenue was... Villa's match day income was 9% of their revenue in 22-23, which is £19 million. Liverpool's was 13%, Man City 10% match day revenue compared to the whole overall. So it's not a small figure, but it's... it dwarfs everything else essentially. So to think that the fans have to pick up a few £1 million of cost is something that just doesn't sit right with me, or I presume with anyone.
I'm going to tie in 3 questions here in one, which is unusual, but it's all about like naming rights and stadiums and stuff. I'll read them first. James, first of all, says, with revenue such a hot topic, is it not something of an own goal that the club haven't gone down the naming rights route? Appreciate many would be against the stadium rebrand, but surely naming rights to the North Stand would be a means to raise funds without upsetting the fan base. And just to round off all this kind of off the pitch stuff in one, Reese asks what's the latest on the stadium redevelopments, and Adrian, how much of the latest fiasco is to possibly brainwash fans into thinking we actually need a new stadium? Now, first of all, on the naming rights thing, we've spoken about this before. If they renamed Villa Park something tasteful, Adidas Villa Park, for example, we'd all still call it Villa Park. It brings us 100 million. I wouldn't be massively for it, but I'd understand it. If they named it something terrible, I'd be against it. Something like the North Stand, absolutely kind of do what you want. Rename the Doug Ellis, do what you want. Rename Bodymore Heath, do what you want. Brand up the club shop, do what you want. If all that is going to bring in the money that keeps ticket prices at a reasonable price... I'm fine with it. Yeah. I still think there's other ways and other avenues, and maybe Villa couldn't do it in time for this season. Maybe Chris Eck this is something that will be rectified over the next 5 years. It's a big task. Yeah. I appreciate it can't all be done quickly, but ticket prices and fans should always be bottom of the list of things that you can do.
And but the fact that we're guessing and trying to give examples of we think this could happen, we think that might work, I just feel like a bit of just something from Heck maybe to say. And I know he's been talking up how Villa Park is improving its hospitality offerings, and there's going to be a new fan zone for Everton, and there's a lot, I like how he's been open and whatever about that, and then basically informing us about what's happening, which is good. But in this situation, we're all thinking, why? Why is... And we know that Villa have to raise a certain amount of revenue, but then at the same time, as we've just spent the last 5 minutes talking about, why is it the fans that have to pick that up? I just feel like a simple bit of communication there would go a long way. Fans are still going to be furious, but at least acknowledge that, for example, we're looking at doing stadium naming rights, and then next season, as you say, Dan, again, this isn't... I don't know any information here. But yeah, next season that cost would come down, but at the moment we have to meet that cost. And at least should just be open and honest.
Yeah, if I said,
and fans can still have a go and say, yeah, but that should never be the case. Yeah. But at least we now know we're in the clear of, okay, well, that's why they've done it. It will be this.
If we don't price the tickets, this is what we do now. In the summer, we will break some kind of rule and we'll be punished. But next season, we've agreed a deal to rename Bodymore Heath to be whatever, and ticket prices will come back down. If they were that open and honest about it, yes,
at least you could stomach it to a point.
Okay, well, I get why they've done it. Even if I don't want to pay it, someone will.
And it's the kind of silence that is hurting me a bit more. And again, I'm not paying for these tickets, not any longer anyway. But I know close family are, but they probably can't now. So that's what's difficult. And it's the kind of, I don't want to say lack of communication, because firstly, if the comms team say something to Chris Eck like, okay, fans are furious with the tickets, what happens from here? But they're not being changed. The club can't put out a statement saying, we acknowledge the fury, but we're not changing it. Probably like from petrol on a fire, like really. So yeah, I just think something needs to be said about, even if it's just an email, a personal email from Chris Eck saying, this is a situation, we understand the nature of, but this is what's happening, this is why it's been happening. I just feel like it can be that simple, really. Again, there's no real excuse for me, but if mistakes have happened and we have to follow those costs, the fans shouldn't be picking them up, but why are they then? And just to give some explanation there. I haven't really answered those questions, unfortunately, but stadium name rights, I'm with you. I don't care what they say. It's Villa Park. Everyone sees it and knows it is Villa Park. They could call it the Tesco Villa Park. I really don't care. if that's what stops fans paying £300 for tickets rather than 150 or something, because £150 in a month or in a year is a lot of money for a lot of people these days. So I don't care. If that's what helps most people, fine by me.
Okay. The last question about, is this to brainwash fans into thinking we need a new stadium, which is kind of suggesting, right, let's show them how bad it can be at Villa Park, because what we really need is a new stadium of 70,000. Because if you sell 70,000 tickets at 40 quid, you probably make the same amount of money, I haven't done the maths, as 40,000 at 70 quid.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. We've heard it from Chris Eck himself and from other people that Villa have no plans to leave Villa Park. I still think ticket prices would be very high though, even if we were to leave, because it would almost be an excuse of, here's a new shiny thing,
and pay for it.
here's a grand concourse that actually works and is fit for purpose now. So why would they do it cheaper than a ticket that doesn't have a very good concourse and there's leaking toilets, etc. So I feel like that would be an excuse almost.
Right, we're going to move on to football matters now. Welcome to everyone who skipped the first first part. John, do you want to make a weird noise so I can use for a transition?
No, I don't, because I'm scared of when and how you're going to use that in the future.
From Nate, he says, which players do you think will be key for Villa in the Champions League campaign, and who could potentially be a standout on the European stage?
Sounds positive.
What is this podcast?
Yeah.
Positive? How dare we? I like that last week, by the way. A standout on the European stage. Like, that sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to be a standout.
Can I plug something for this?
If you want.
Yeah, so we have this isn't planned, by the way. This was a literal question. You don't even...
I don't know what you're on about.
No.
Is it the Villa Social? You can watch that on YouTube, by the way, if you haven't watched it.
It's our Champions League print supplement, which is I don't actually know. Dan, if you could just link
It'll be down below,
the online store, yeah. We have... like we did for the start of the season, the pre-season, we have a Champions League version of that. So as part of that, I've listed a few players who will be big on the European stage, as Nate asks. So
can you give us a tease?
Well, it's pretty obvious, to be fair. But the other stuff I think is good. It's like opposition previews and what Villa were doing last when they were in the in the European Cup in 1983.
Yep.
And a scene setter as well. So lots of good stuff from there if you want to buy it. It's cheap. Emery Martinez would be
that's the one, isn't
the key one for me. I think you could go across the squad and always say that this player is crucial for this reason and this and that, but Martinez is the one.
Who's got the most European experience? Obviously Emery, but on the playing staff.
Oh, good question. Tielemans,
Torres,
potentially. Torres, mate, he has a bit, not loads. Bailey has a fair amount. Onana has obviously played a little bit, but he's only 22. Martinez has been around it for Arsenal, but yeah.
I mean, Maatsen played in the final last year.
Yeah, but even then, you know,
but he's still only a youngster.
Yeah, I don't think any of them have played like a significant amount of games. I'd say Tielemans.
Luka Dean.
Oh, of course, yeah, Luka Dean. Yeah. Luka Dean's played for PSG, Barcelona, Lille, Villa, obviously in the Conference League. So yeah, Luka Dean's probably the most experienced in terms of that.
Mike has asked a few questions. I don't think we can answer all of them now. He first of all says, can you discuss tactical differences in build-up this season versus last? I do want to wait and do a proper tactical video. Not for this, but remember I said that we were going to get like a tactics board made? Yeah. That's been done now. It's like a big massive piece of metal.
We'll save that one then.
So I think we'll save that. He also says, would you consider doing a separate podcast on a how-to for foreign fans visiting for a game? What options are there? Different ticketing options. Don't mention the tickets. Hotels, pubs, etc. Maybe you could do it with Neil Dunworth. Neil, if you're listening and you want to do a podcast as a how-to for a foreign fan, I suppose he doesn't go to many games because he lives in Ireland. Yeah, we've been asked that question before, like what are the best pubs, best places to eat? How do you get to and from the stadium? Things like that. I kind of get it, but I wonder whether that's our place, really.
Yeah, especially when you have your own kind of match day routines.
Yeah.
Everyone does something different.
I'm not giving away where I park because it'll be full.
Yeah, true, yeah. But if you don't go to the Witting Arms or if you go to somewhere else, you know, everyone does it differently, really. Well, not everyone, but most, you know, everyone has their own things. So
you could ask that question to 100 different Villa fans and get many different answers.
60 different answers, yeah.
Stags on Threads says,
Stags.
I know this is circumstantial, but what would be the lowest league position and earliest round exits from each of the cup competitions which you'd still accept and still consider to be a success?
Blimey.
We kind of touch on this kind of thing in the season preview, don't we? Like what's success and what would be failure. I suppose league position is the easiest to answer. I think we both agree if we weren't in Europe next year, that'd be very bad.
Yeah, but I keep going back to this thing.
But I suppose your thing is if we're 8th and we're close, that's still good.
No.
Kind of.
If we don't get Europe, it'll be really frustrating and like disappointing. But I just feel like there'll be a reason why, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
If you gave Emery for the rest of the season basically a fully fit squad, maybe there's a few injuries here and there. Like at the moment we've got Cash out, Bailey out. There's quite already a couple of injuries. But I still think that we should be absolutely fine to get top 7. I say absolutely fine. We should definitely be in there. And if we drop out, I feel like it would be because we have
another bad injuries.
Another plague of injuries or something happens and if that happens, I'm kind of like, well, can it be a failure?
I think we've got the squad now to manage these 2 to 3 week injuries. Like Cash just his hamstring, he's out for a month. Like
we can manage.
I'm not saying that is the case, by the way, but that example, Bailey misses 3 or 4 games. Like I think we can manage. I think if we get another season where we get 3 ACLs and Pau Torres misses 2 months, Conte misses 2 months, like if those things happen,
and we drop out of Europe, that's not a failure because what are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
But if it is a case of we have, pretty much a good run with injuries and we're okay, and we fall out of Europe, then that probably would be a failure. Because
or it's taken somebody unexpected to put a real challenge together. Like I don't know, give me a team that's mid-table.
At Brighton.
Yeah, Brighton do really well and they finish 4th, and that means everyone else kind of gets knocked down by default.
The only thing with that is I always think, well, as long as we do our job, we'll be fine. And that's the kind of mentality I have here. If we're good enough to finish in the top 7, so if we have a fully fit team, pretty much, it would be a failure to fall out of Europe because we know that we're good enough.
Yeah.
Under Emery, since he's come in, we've been the 4th best team consistently. Like, I was actually surprised to see that Man United 5th. I thought they'd be like 12th.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is surprising.
Cup competitions, Champions League, I don't think disappointing or failure is the word, but if we don't even get to the playoff round, I'd be a little bit sad.
Oh, I'd be disappointed if we don't get to the playoff round. I know that might be asking, do you mean the knockout? The playoff
round? The 2-legged playoff.
Yeah.
If we didn't even get to that, I'd be a little bit...
Yeah, for sure, because I can't. I should know this, but there's obviously a group of teams that get eliminated
It's
straight
got to
away.
be like better than 9 other teams or something. Like that. It shouldn't be that.
And
difficult.
there's 9 teams that I definitely think that we're better than.
Yeah.
If you look at pot 3 and 4, I think we're easily one of the best teams. And I know we have to prove it.
Yeah.
But we are. So, yeah, I'd be disappointed if we don't get to the playoff round.
Yeah, if we lose in the last 16, like, I'd be absolutely fine with that.
Yeah, it's not, again, context, etc. But to get into the playoff round, knockout round, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Start to our Champions League turn.
The domestic cups are a little bit different, and when we did this for the season preview, I think I went further in the League Cup than the FA. And you were saying, well, it's probably the other way around. The FA Cup obviously doesn't start till January for us. Our Champions League campaign could be over by then or nearing its end. So there's no reason why you couldn't put an FA Cup run together, because there'd be no Europe to contend with anyway. Whereas the League Cup, which starts in 2 weeks, is right in the midst of our Champions League campaign. The Premier League will be coming thick and fast as the winter comes on. So, I mean, well, I suppose the roundabout question is, it's not really important what we think. How do you think Emery will approach the cups, the domestic cups? Will he care about Wycombe in the League Cup?
He'll care, but if we get knocked out, I think the whole fan base will probably kind of wash their hands with it the week after. If we
maybe the one after Wycombe.
Yeah,
we should be
really
Wycombe even with
I
our
think
second
the League Cup's a difficult one because we have 8 Champions League games to play before the end of January. We know that last season we lost to Everton, but then we finished 4th in the Premier League, and I was really peed off with the Everton one because that's a winnable game, and we lost it. Ticket prices again weren't good there, but I'm going to go back to that. Well, I have, but I'm not going to be too annoyed if we get knocked out early in the League Cup because we have so much going on before the end of January. However, yeah, you're right. The FA Cup falls before our last 2 league phase games, so second and third round I think will still be when we're in the Champions League.
Are we in the third round for the FA Cup? We've been in the Champions League. Was it the 4th round? It's the third round if you're in the Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, when I say first, I meant the... no, everyone's in the third round, I'm pretty certain.
Okay.
But
I just can't remember.
I meant third, 4th, 5th round. The ones after we're in.
Yeah.
Third round for me is the first round, you know what I mean? So
Premier League snob. FA Cup starts in August.
I know. Yeah.
I'm going to offer you a season now, right? So we don't even get to the playoff round in the Champions League. We finish.
So you get knocked out.
26th in the league phase. We finish 6th. Actually, no. That's too. That would still be good. We finished 9th, but we win the League Cup. Is that good? Yeah. Is that good?
Well, you'd get Europe and a trophy. So
yes, then.
I'd take it. I think I would, yeah. Hold on, you saying that as finishing 9th and getting knocked out of the Champions League. Right now I'm sitting here thinking, well, that means we're going to lose a few games. And the Champions League isn't going to be very exciting in the end. So that is something that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
But if I had to fast forward from now till then that's easy to stomach because it's like, well, you've got a trophy in the bag and you're in Europe again.
Yeah.
So, cool.
Next question. Josh says, how far can Duran really go if he applies himself well? We can see his inspiration is Ibrahimovic. Could he reach that level?
It's hard to say will he reach Ibra's level because that was a generational talent and also a very unique. Is that from if
that's like the only person he follows on social media is Ibrahimovic?
Is it really? I didn't actually know that.
Pretty sure it is, yeah.
Is it?
I think he follows one person on either Twitter or Instagram and it's Ibrahimovic, yeah.
So I really like that. Yeah, Duran's, I've said it for a long time and so have other people. It's not only me, but I just think he's a fantastic player. He has got everything to be whatever he wants to be. It's a full package. He's got everything. Obviously, he needs to knuckle down a bit more, and the signs are that he's doing that. John McGinn obviously came out with that interview. I think we spoke about it on the podcast recently.
Last week, I think.
So, yeah, for me, the sky's the limit for John Duran. He is scoring goals while playing second fiddle to Watkins, granted, but he's scoring goals and he's making an impact. He's doing the plan, as I would say, that we are giving him, and he's making the most of it. Obviously, he wanted to leave the club last January for Chelsea. Wanted to go to West Ham, as we all know. It was well publicised. Didn't come about, but again, hopefully, he's realising what he has and that it's something that he shouldn't be letting go.
Yeah.
So, delighted to see that he's had a good start to the season because obviously a lot was said. He's still a young guy. 20, obviously quite immature, but at the same time he's worth fighting for, as we've said previous episodes.
Johnny asks, do you think putting all of our eggs in the Emery basket is risky? Are we in danger of becoming a one-man show again like we were with Grealish, and the whole house of cards could come tumbling down when he leaves? We spoke about this before, haven't we, I think?
Yeah, but Villa, and this is something that Damian and Monchi relayed previously, Villa would be in a constant cycle of 10th, 12th, 11th, 9th, that middling side, if it weren't for a world-class manager, because of what PSR has brought up on clubs. You have to, as the piece said and as we mentioned earlier, clubs have to spend money to buy players, which wins games, which brings you revenue. It's a broken system. To get on that ladder, you need something pretty exceptional to happen. And if it was for a player like Jack Grealish, fantastic, but then you have to sell him. So that isn't going to be sustainable. You can't just have great players all the time. West Ham aren't just going to produce world-class players, Declan Rice all the time, and finish in the 5th, 4th spots all the time, because it doesn't happen. You need someone who's going to be there for the long run, and that is usually going to be a manager. Villa have got that in Emery. For us to get Emery, we need to give him a support network and support staff. That's exactly the conversation that Nassef Sawiris had with him, and said, this is what you're going to have. Who do you want? We're going to back you. Because it's not something that you had at Arsenal, it's something that you had at other clubs, which is when you showed your best level and won European trophies, etc. Am I scared that if Emery goes in 2029, as his contract is at the moment, and that could obviously be extended further down the line, but if that is the date, or the year, sorry, then obviously Villa have a big rebuild. Of course they do. But for those 5 years or however long it would be that he's been at the club, obviously longer than that, if it's 7 years or something, then fantastic. Could be the best 7 years of my Villa supporting lifetime, or they will be.
That's the potential trade-off, isn't it? Like, if you think the classics are after Ferguson, after Wenger, probably after Klopp now, Ferguson probably is the best case scenario of it, of massive success for, I don't know what it was in the end, 30 years or something.
Oh yeah, something
whatever.
Silly,
Everyone knows, a long time. Post Ferguson to now, yes, Man United have won a handful of trophies here and there, but there's generally been pretty much of a shambles.
By the standards
for
they
10
say,
years.
it's been a shambles.
I suppose, for maybe a middling club, the last 10 years of United has been pretty good. But for Man United, this is Man United we're talking about. Everything that came before it, they should be much better than they are now. But that's kind of the thing, isn't it? They gave Ferguson everything to get that.
Yeah.
Arsenal gave Wenger everything to get what they got. Liverpool the same with Klopp. The trade-off of having to rebuild afterwards and the potential of it could be bad is what you sacrifice for having something for the here and now.
That's something to worry about in the full. Yeah. Again, Villa will do.
It's the boomerang, isn't it?
No one's. Yeah.
It's Vidigani's boomerang.
Villa will be more than aware that this is a situation where this is Unai's staff. This is the full department. Is Unai Emery's. And that will all change when that happens, you'd presume. But again, Villa have a plan to boost the revenue by 2027 to 400 mil, competing with the big six. So it's not. You'd like to think that when Unai goes, Villa aren't in a situation where,
like it's Sean Dyche and
it's the Villa
again. It's like we're now in a place of attracting somebody good.
Yeah, and we'd be in a position where we would be able to spend more money if things went wrong. We'd be able to have more flexibility. Whereas at the moment, I don't know quite how to explain it, but if we were to fall out of Europe, then we've got to rebuild again and bits and bobs, and with Unai that would be a whole lot easier. But for now, everything is very rosy in the footballing department, and it's all going very well. Obviously there's limitations, but once that can be lifted a little bit more by raising our revenue, and obviously we've spoken a lot about it earlier, you'd like to think that the fans won't pay that cost too much as they are at the moment. We'll see. But once we get to that state where we can be more flexible, well, then the thought of losing Unai as it is now would be less in the future, I think, because we would have hopefully had trophies, European football, all of that, fantastic, but also a succession plan, and that isn't something that we have to think about now. So,
good answer. Final football question from Neil. We're going to be hearing about all this for the next.
Liverpool McGrath, Neil.
No, yes.
Is it?
No, it's not. We're going to be hearing about this for the next 8 months, probably. And this won't be the only time we answer it. If you have to lose a star player in the summer...
Boo!
because of the shambles that is PSR, which one is the one to leave? And there's options, John. A. Martinez.
Phone a friend.
B. Watkins. C. Duran. D. Concert. I mean, give me a different answer if you want, but from those four, let's just answer this question and forget it happened.
Firstly, this is obviously one of the only questions that I really... Well, there's lots of questions that I wanted to ask Damian and Monchi, but they were very, very open, so a lot of those questions were answered already. But then there was one of, what happens next summer? Is it the same situation? And their answer was, firstly, Villa aren't afraid to sell, because, as Monchi said a really good quote, which I liked. It was something along the lines of... I don't remember. What was it? It was... It's not about selling well, it's about buying good, or something along those lines. Basically saying, as long as you buy well, it doesn't matter what... yes, fans get attached to players like Louise or whoever else has been and gone down the years. But if we buy well, it doesn't matter. Villa will always have a competitive team, and we've seen that Louise is gone. But the early signs are that we've got a player in Onana who fits a lot of boxes, who's an incredibly good talent. Tielemans has kind of fitted into the more of the Louise mould, shall I say, and has done very well. Arguably had a man of the match performance in, well, for me, 2 of the 3 games. Tielemans has been my man of the match in both away matches, actually. But yeah, the point is that Villa don't actually know the situation for next year, at least what Damian says, because of the Champions League. If they have a great Champions League, then that will obviously alter their costs, or the revenue even. And if they do less than what they expect, then that might alter it again. And there's a lot of factors. It's an ever-changing situation. We are, a month or even just a few days after the window has ended from the last summer, which is very hectic. So they don't know exactly what the situation's going to look like. But they're not afraid to do what they need to do. However, as they did last summer, they pinpointed players who are essentially unsellable in that season, which was Martinez, Watkins, Konsa, Bailey. Jacob Ramsey would have solved the PSR issues, but Unai said, nope, don't want to sell him. Make the money up elsewhere. They obviously identified Louise previously anyway, with 2 years left on his deal. And obviously there's they had to do a deal somehow, and they got it over the line and just about avoided a points deduction in the end. So we will see next summer, but it's not a situation that scares me. I think Villa have got a really good recruitment team behind them.
Sorry, I was going to make a mischievous joke.
Go for it.
But I'm not going to.
Go on.
But I've got a smirk on my face that I can't hide.
Go on.
And you were saying then about could have sold Jacob Ramsey, but Unai said no, make up the money elsewhere. I was going to say, so it's Unai's fault that the Champions League ticket prices are what they are. Damn you, Unai. And I thought it to myself, didn't say it, but I couldn't stop laughing. So I'm now going to have to include that. Yeah, sorry for cutting you off there.
No, fine.
I think the answer for those 4 options there, I think the answer is Duran, just because he's the least important currently.
But this is why.
But then, man,
I don't know how to say.
Like, he's surpassed his best next season. I suppose everything is,
It all depends what happens.
Because he's the youngest of those options.
Again, we're not saying Villa have to sell. This isn't what we're saying. There's a situation where Villa will probably have to raise more money every summer, because that's just a limitation of PSR if they want to continue spending to improve the team. We don't know if that's going to be a key player or not at the moment. Villa will always try not to sell a key player. Martin's now on a new deal, so I can't see that happening. He's committed his future. Watkins committed his future very recently, as did Concert, and that's almost the spine. Villa don't want to sell any of their key players, and if they have to make it money elsewhere, then they will. But it all depends what happens this season, right? What does the squad look like? Anything can happen. Players can come out, like Nedeljkovic, for example, is impressed so far. So, Bogard had a decent game against Leicester. Maybe those players become even better, and all of a sudden they're starting at right back, and and then what happens with the striker situation? The centre back. We're only 3 games into the season, so a lot is going to happen, and we will know more as the season goes on in terms of revenue and how Villa's squad looks, and also what players arrive on their radar, essentially. Because Morgan Rogers, I highly doubt, was on Unai's radar when he was at Blackpool. There's a lot that can happen. But the key message is that Villa never want to sell their key players, the ones that Unai believes he can't replace. Essentially. We
normally do silly questions and then comment of the week, but I don't think there's any coming back from the silly question, so we're going to do comment of the week first. I think once we do the final silly question, you'll go, what the hell, and we won't be able to come back from it.
Okay.
Comment of the week from Bobby Sprinkles, and I've really only included this partly for the name and for the first line. I'm not really bothered about the rest of his comment, to be honest, because we've spoken about it.
Okay.
How would you say the word? I'm going to spell it. Not zero. OOOOFT. How would you say that?
Oof.
Oofed.
I don't say T at the end.
You wouldn't say the T?
No, just oof.
It's like a...
If I type that, which I do, that's me going oof.
Oof, okay.
Yeah.
He says, oof. It's better when you do it.
Is this the question? How do you say oof? Or
No, that's just the first part. But I wanted to see you
How did that
say
make comment of the week?
He says, look at me getting a question read out on here, which I quite like. He's like, oof. There we go. That's better. Ooh, look at me.
Okay.
So I picked him for that and Bobby Sprinkles. The actual comment is, in terms of Watkins needing to feel like the main man discussion that we had last week, I think this will potentially be the making of him. He's a very good player. A very good player might end up getting pushed aside by competition, whereas a world-class player will continually make the questions getting asked of them redundant. Obviously, with Ings, Watkins answered the questions. We'll now see where he's at, and if he isn't as good as we think he is, then Duran has the potential to be. I say I don't care about his comment. It was a good comment.
Yeah, I've said Villa for me have the two best nines in the division. Watkins didn't score for 5 games last season. He'll be fine this season. He is good as we think he is. Everything will be fine. However, there is obviously the situation, as you said before, Danny Ings was there and he felt a bit under pressure and stuff. That is still there, and Watkins has said that publicly, so that is a bit of a concern of mine. However, Wolves, Everton, Ipswich, even Wickham, if he plays in that game, that's a good chance for him to get back among the goals. But, what is his fitness like? Because dropped out of the England team, there's obviously a reason for that. I'm sure he didn't want to. Lee Carsley's the new manager, he wants to make an impression, etc. So, yeah.
Okay, good comment, Bobby Sprinkles. Silly questions then, there's 2. I'll end with the worst one. Adam, first of all, says, would you rather eat soup with a sponge or rice with a toothpick?
Soup with a sponge. Oh my God, what a question. Okay.
I asked both of these to my wife last night, by the way. And she said they were both easy, but I totally disagree.
I think I'd say rice with a toothpick. It's not just because I love rice.
I know, I did think that.
Soup with a sponge.
Yeah, I think rice with a toothpick would be incredibly irritating and would be long. You could obviously only get 1 grain of rice at a time, maybe 2 if you were lucky. That would take absolutely... I mean, how many grains are on a plate? 100?
Yeah,
1,000? I don't know. It would take ages.
Depends what you cook, yeah.
Depends how much you have. A kilo of rice, could be loads. Eating soup with a sponge, though, is so, degrading. Isn't it? Such a horrific tool, to suck a sponge.
I also...
Soup.
Although the toothpick does sound long, I couldn't be arsed to get dirty and messy for soup.
With the soup, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because you got to
dip a sponge and squeeze it in or
rinse
suck it out of it. It's so humiliating almost. I'd feel like I'd rather go without.
You can do it in a broom on your own.
Yeah, but even then I'd just feel like I'm dirty eating soup.
And it's come out of a sponge, even though if it's a clean sponge, it's still a sponge.
Yeah, it's just not great. So I think
what did your wife say?
She immediately said sponge.
Exactly. So degrading.
I know.
I'd be embarrassed.
I just can't see that at all. I just wouldn't want to be involved with that.
I'd say rice, and to be honest, I don't really. Do you eat soup or do you drink it? That's another.
Well, if you got lumps in the soup again, that's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it?
I don't really do soup anymore.
Do you reckon with the rice to toothpick? Let's say this is my plate. Would you be stabbing them one at a time?
Yeah. Well, you can't shovel it.
Would you try and scoop?
No, you can't scoop.
Well,
it's too thin.
It doesn't say.
No, you can't. You can't shovel that.
Final question comes from Dan, and this is not me. This is somebody else, and it's not Bardell either. It's disgusting, frankly. Would you rather eat poo-flavoured chocolate
that's horrible.
or chocolate-flavoured poo?
That's vile. What? Where does that come from?
I know, and I got 2 likes, and I was thinking I've got to include it because there's clamour for it.
Clamour too.
Poo-flavoured chocolate, chocolate-flavoured poo is so disgusting. Poo-flavoured.
Whatever. So let me just think. I don't want to think about it, but
you have to, mate. This is your job.
The one that I'm eating chocolate. I'm not eating. I'm eating chocolate. I don't care what it smells.
Poo-flavoured then.
But it's chocolate. You're eating chocolate. You're essentially eating milk and sugar and whatever else chocolate's made from.
Cocoa beans.
With a scent. Hold your nose. Do whatever you need to do. It's seriously. That's pretty easy actually. That or you're. Come on.
Yeah, but it's chocolate flavoured. Surely it's the
and you'll also probably be ill for like a week.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. But yeah.
No, there's no. I don't think there's a debate on that one. It's a horrible question, and
that's
please
disgusting.
don't comment again, Dan. But I'm eating chocolate.
I don't want to dive into the details too much here, but like I said, we won't come back from this. What's poo flavour?
What do you mean?
What does it taste like?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Well, I know it's waste.
Unfortunately, some people probably do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're saying, poo flavour, that's horrible. But is it? Is it horrible?
Yeah, there's no debate here. I don't know if you're trying to drag the episode out to an hour, but I'm not entertaining that. I don't know, it would probably just smell like a dog bin or something, in the park, which stinks. Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy answer, but disgusting question. So you would do what?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
If you break it down, you're eating chocolate or, so...
Yeah, I'm with you, I think. It's vile. Like I said, there's no coming back
it's
from that.
It's vile, but I think it's a very easy answer. So.
I think if we're now out to do comment of the week, I'd feel weird about it, so I'm glad I did it in the order that I did it.
Yeah, the comment section, if they've stayed this far, sorry if you have, the comment section could be a horrible place this week.
Yeah, I mean, get involved in the comments section if you want. If you want to degrade yourself as John and I have, then please do. Please join us. John, thank you for joining me on the Q&A. Good to have you back. Although it felt like you were never away, really.
I feel like a superhero.
Thanks for coming to save the day. Oh, God. I can't do a proper outro. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
I feel like you're never away.